August 11th, 2020, a subcontractor sitting at a desk in India logged into a banking portal. His job was simple: send an $8 million interest payment to a group of lenders. It was a routine transaction, the kind of digital paperwork that happens a million times a day on Wall Street. But he wasn't using modern software. He was using a notoriously confusing, outdated interface. He clicked a few boxes. He submitted the form. 2 other senior managers reviewed his screen and approved the transaction. They all thought they had successfully sent $8 million. They were wrong. When the banks opened the next morning, Citigroup realized that they hadn't just sent the interest. They had accidentally wired out the entire principal of the loan. $900 million of the bank's own money was gone. This is the story of the most expensive software UI disaster in banking history, and how a federal judge ruled that the people who received the money didn't have to give it back. To understand how a bank loses nearly $1 billion, you have to understand the debt. Citigroup was acting as the administrative agent for a massive loan taken out by the cosmetics empire, Revlon. Revlon was struggling, and they owed lenders a fortune. Citigroup's job was to collect the interest from Revlon and distribute it to the creditors, mostly ruthless Wall Street hedge funds. To process these massive wire transfers, Citigroup relied on a piece of financial software called Flexcube. Flexcube was powerful, but it was not user-friendly. It looked like a relic from the early 2000s, packed with dense text, obscure acronyms, and drop-down menus that left zero room for human error. On this particular Tuesday, Citigroup needed to send out $7.8 million in interest. But the structure of the loan was changing, which meant they had to trick the Flexcube software. They had to input the entire $900 million loan into the system, but check very specific boxes to tell the software to only release the interest and keep the principal locked in a fake internal account. It was a digital tightrope walk. Citigroup knew Flexcube was dangerous. That's why they instituted the 6-eye policy. 3 separate people had to review and approve every major transfer. The subcontractor, acting as the maker, opened the Flexcube menu. To stop the software from sending the $900 million principal, he had to check 3 specific boxes: front, fund, and principal. He checked principal. He thought that was enough. He took a screenshot of his work and sent it to a senior colleague in Delaware. The colleague reviewed the screenshot. It looked correct to him. He approved it. Finally, the 3rd senior director at Citigroup reviewed it. He also thought it looked perfectly fine. He gave the final sign-off. 3 highly trained professionals, 6 eyes. And none of them realized that because they didn't check the front and fund boxes, the software's internal logic completely bypassed their safety net. At 5:45 p.m., the system executed the command. It didn't send the $7.8 million. It blasted $900 million directly into the bank accounts of Revlon's fiercest creditors. The next morning, the sun rose on Wall Street and the panic set in. Citigroup executives woke up to catastrophic internal alerts. The money was gone, and worse, it was Citigroup's own money. Revlon hadn't authorized the payoff. The bank had accidentally emptied its own vaults. Frantic emails began flying out to the hedge funds. Please return the funds. This was a clerical error. Do not spend this money. Many of the lenders realized it was a mistake and wired the money back. But a group of aggressive hedge funds holding roughly $500 million of the cash, looked at their accounts, looked at the frantic emails from Citigroup, and simply said, no. Revlon owed them that money eventually anyway. From their perspective, the loan was just paid off early. They refused to return $500 million. Citigroup was forced to do the unthinkable, sue to get their own money back. The case went to federal court and the banking world held its breath. Surely an obvious software mistake meant the money had to be returned. But the judge cited a century-old New York banking law known as the Discharge for Value defense. If a creditor receives a payment that exactly matches the debt they are owed, and they had no prior warning it was a mistake, they are legally allowed to keep it, because Citigroup had sent the exact amount owed down to the penny. The judge ruled in favor of the hedge funds. Citigroup's disastrous UI mistake was finalized by a stroke of a legal pen. While they eventually appealed and fought brutal legal battles to recover the funds years later, the damage was done. It was a masterclass in the fragility of modern systems. You can have the best lawyers, the biggest vault